Something is pressing against the inside of your chest right now. Not pain, not quite. More like the feeling of a word sitting at the very tip of your tongue that you cannot bring yourself to say. Something you have been circling for weeks, maybe longer. Something that feels both urgent and impossibly quiet at the same time. You have been carrying it without knowing what to call it. You have been feeling it without knowing whether to trust it. I want to tell you what is happening in the sky right now, because what is happening above us is the most precise astronomical explanation for why this week has felt so strange, so charged, so full of something just beneath the surface that refuses to stay quiet any longer. Between March 14th and March 17th, 3 celestial bodies are occupying the same narrow band of sky simultaneously. Mercury retrograde, Mars, and the north node of the moon are all converging at 8 to 10 degrees of Pisces. On March 15th, at exactly 1 hour and 7 minutes past midnight, Mercury and Mars reach their precise conjunction at 10 degrees and 2 minutes of Pisces. For a brief window, the planet of the mind, the planet of action, and the mathematical point of destiny are not separate forces, they are one. Astrologers have a word for 3 planets occupying the same point in the sky, a stellium. And this one, in Pisces, in the middle of Mercury retrograde, with the north node threading through the center of it, is one of the rarest atmospheric combinations of this decade. Your body already registered it before you opened this video. Let me tell you what each of these 3 forces is and why their meeting right now matters for you specifically. Mercury is the planet of the mind, of language, of the space between what you think and what you say, between what you understand and what you can actually articulate to another person. In traditional astrology, Mercury is the messenger, the one who carries information between worlds, between the conscious and the unconscious, between what is seen and what is sensed. When Mercury functions clearly, you can say what you mean. When Mercury is retrograde, as it is now, moving backward through Pisces until March 20th, that translation process becomes unreliable. The words do not come, the meaning dissolves before it can be spoken. What arrives instead is feeling. Direct, unmediated, frustratingly wordless feeling. Mercury is retrograde in Pisces, which is the sign of its fall. This is the astrological equivalent of a very precise instrument being asked to work underwater. The clarity that Mercury offers in other signs, the sharpness, the logic, the ability to cut to the correct answer, does not function the same way in Pisces. In Pisces, Mercury stops translating and starts dreaming, stops arguing and starts sensing, stops asking what is logical and starts asking what is true. For the past 3 weeks, if you have found yourself unable to explain why you feel what you feel, if the right words have refused to arrive, if conversations have gone sideways, not from bad intent, but from genuine inability to say the precise thing you meant, this is why. Mercury in Pisces retrograde is not broken communication. It is communication that has gone deeper than language. Now add Mars. Mars arrived in Pisces at the beginning of March, and it has been moving through this same watery territory alongside Mercury ever since. Mars is the planet of action, of drive, of the force in the body that knows something needs to happen even before the mind has decided what. In fire signs, Mars is a torch. In earth signs, it is a bulldozer. In Pisces, Mars moves the way the ocean moves, not in straight lines, not on a schedule, but with a pull that is undeniable, a current that does not announce itself, but simply moves you. When Mercury and Mars come together, in any sign, something shifts. These 2 planets have a particular chemistry. Mercury brings the thought. Mars brings the impulse to act on it. Normally, there is a lag between the 2. the gap where caution lives, where second-guessing happens, where the practical mind says, wait. When they conjoin, that gap closes. What you think and what you do occupy the same moment. In Pisces, this conjunction does not create aggression. It does not create the sharp, decisive strike that Mercury-Mars conjunctions can produce in Aries or Scorpio. What it creates in Pisces is something more unusual. A moment when the thing you have been feeling but could not name suddenly becomes the thing you are willing to act on, not because you have finally found the words for it, but because you no longer need them. You move from feeling to motion without passing through logic. The ancient Romans had a phrase for this: fortis in re, suavis in modo, resolute in action, gentle in manner. This is Mercury conjunct Mars in Pisces. The direction becomes clear, the method remains soft, and at the center of all of this is the North Node. I have spoken about the North Node in recent videos, and I want to return to it here because its presence in the stellium is what transforms this conjunction from an interesting transit into something that deserves your full attention. The North Node is not a planet. It is a mathematical point, the place where the moon's path intersects the ecliptic as it moves northward. It has been at 8 to 9 degrees of Pisces for most of this year, and it will remain in this part of the sky until the nodal axis shifts in late 2026. The North Node represents the direction of collective and individual evolution, where we are being pulled, what we are growing toward, not what is comfortable, not what is familiar, what is necessary. When planets activate the North Node, they charge the question of direction with their own energy. Mars brought action and drive to that question on March 13th. Now Mercury brings mind and language to the same point. Together, with the North Node threading through the center, this stellium is asking something very specific. If you knew with absolute certainty that you were on the right path, what would you say? What would you do? What would you stop pretending not to want? This is the question of Mercury-Mars conjunct the North Node in Pisces. Not asked loudly, not asked with urgency, asked in the quiet, persistent language of feeling that has been building since February. I want to speak about something that astrologers sometimes overlook when they discuss Mercury retrograde conjunct Mars. There is an ancient understanding of this particular combination that stretches back further than the Greek tradition, back to Babylonian sky watching, where Mercury and Mars appearing together in the same narrow band of sky were understood as a moment when the inner voice and the physical body arrived at the same conclusion simultaneously. The Babylonians called Mercury Nabu, the god of wisdom and writing, the keeper of the tablets of fate. They called Mars Nergal, the god of the underworld and of the forces that lie below ordinary life. When Nabu and Nergal met in the sky, the ancient priests understood it as a moment when what was written in the hidden tablets became visible, when the destiny that had already been recorded found its way into the conscious world. They did not consider this a threat. They considered it an alignment, a moment when what was already true stopped being hidden. That is what this stellium is, not a danger, an alignment. Now I want to talk about the moon, because on March 14th, the day before the exact Mercury-Mars conjunction, the moon conjuncts Pluto in Aquarius. This aspect does not exist separately from the stellium. It is part of the same atmospheric system. Pluto in Aquarius governs collective transformation, the dismantling of structures that no longer serve the evolution of the whole. When the moon, which governs emotion, instinct, and the body's felt sense of safety, moves into exact conjunction with Pluto, there is a specific quality of exposure. Things that have been managed, contained, or quietly denied tend to surface, not dramatically, but with a weight that cannot be redirected. On March 14th, the moon in Aquarius meeting Pluto is creating an undercurrent of emotional truth-telling that prepares the ground for the Mercury-Mars exactitude the following day. You may notice an unusual directness in your own thoughts today, an inability to maintain the polite fictions that usually make social interactions smoother, a feeling of transparency, as though the things you normally keep behind a careful presentation are closer to the surface than usual. This is not instability. This is preparation. The Moon-Pluto conjunction is clearing the emotional field so that when Mercury and Mars meet tomorrow in exact alignment with your destiny point, there is nothing in the way. No comfortable distraction, no convenient rationalization, just the thing itself. Mercury retrograde in Pisces has a specific quality that I want you to understand before we go further. Mercury in Pisces is what astrologers call in its fall. It is uncomfortable here. It is operating in the sign furthest from its natural environment. And the result of this discomfort is not malfunction. The result is a different kind of function entirely. Mercury in Pisces stops sorting information and starts absorbing it. It stops building arguments and starts receiving impressions. For the past 3 weeks, your mind has been functioning more like a sponge than a calculator, more like a dreaming body than a logical machine. You have been taking in more than you have been putting out, processing more than you have been concluding. The Mercury-Mars conjunction this weekend is the moment that processing reaches a threshold. The dreaming becomes a direction. The impressions become an impulse. Something that has been forming beneath the level of conscious thought suddenly arrives in the body as a felt sense of what needs to happen next. It will not come with instructions. It will not come with a 5-step plan. It will come the way Pisces things always come, as a knowing, as a pull, as the inexplicable certainty that something is true, even though you cannot yet explain why. Trust that. Now let me tell you about what happens after the stellium, because the timing of what follows is not incidental. On March 18th, 4 days from now, the new moon in Pisces arrives at 28 degrees and 26 minutes of Pisces. This is the first new moon that is not an eclipse in over a month. The first genuinely clean lunar beginning in weeks. New moons are seeds. They are intentions set in the dark before the light returns. And this one, in the last degree of the last sign of the zodiac, conjunct Neptune and Saturn, newly arrived in Aries, is asking you to plant something that crosses the threshold between what you have been and what you are becoming. The stellium of Mercury, Mars, and the North Node this weekend is not the ending. It is the preparation. It is the moment when what has been forming in the depths of your understanding reaches the surface with enough force to carry you toward that new moon with a clarity you have not felt in weeks. 2 days after the new moon, on March 20th, Mercury stations direct at 9 degrees of Pisces, almost exactly the same degree where this entire stellium is occurring right now. The retrograde that has been softening your edges and dissolving your usual cognitive defenses since February 25th will end. The words will return. The ability to translate what you have been feeling into what you can say and do and build will come back online, but only if you have let yourself feel it fully while you still had the chance. This is the invitation of the stellium. Not to act immediately, not to rush through the fog toward a clarity that has not yet arrived, but to sit fully inside what you are currently feeling, knowing that in 6 days the language will come, knowing that in 4 days the seed can be planted, knowing that the processing you are doing right now is not confusion. It is the work that makes everything else possible. I want to speak directly to the people who have been struggling with communication this week. The ones who said the wrong thing, or said nothing when they meant to say something, or had a conversation that went sideways in a way they cannot quite trace. Mercury retrograde conjunct Mars in Pisces creates a specific kind of communication turbulence. The thoughts move faster than the words. The emotional current moves faster than either. What comes out of the mouth is sometimes the unedited version of something that needed more time in the interior before it was ready to be spoken. If that has happened to you this week, I want to offer you something. What came out was not wrong. It was early. There is a difference. Early means the content was true, but the container was not yet ready. Early means the feeling was real, but the form it needed to take had not finished shaping itself. Early does not mean you were wrong. Mercury stations direct in 6 days. The conversations that went sideways this week have a natural moment of resolution coming. Not forced, not manufactured. The resolution that arrives when the fog lifts and the same truth that came out clumsily finds its elegant form. There is something I want to name about this stellium that speaks to a longer cycle. Mercury and Mars have been traveling together through Pisces for most of this month. They have both activated the North Node. They have both moved through the same degrees that were lit up by the eclipse of March 3rd, the total lunar eclipse in Virgo that cracked open whatever had been sealed. The eclipse opened something. The Mars-North Node conjunction of March 13th charged it with direction, and this Mercury-Mars stellium this weekend is the moment when the mind catches up with what the body already knew. This is how cosmic sequences work, not as isolated events, but as a coherent unfolding. The eclipse cracked the wall. Mars gave you the impulse to walk through the opening, and Mercury, retrograde, slow, dreaming in Pisces, is the part of you that has been sitting with what you found on the other side, trying to understand what it means. On March 15th, Mercury and Mars meet at the exact same point. The understanding and the impulse finally occupy the same place. For a brief, extraordinary moment, you know what you know, and you are ready to act on it without needing to explain it to anyone, including yourself. Jupiter is direct in Cancer, moving forward since March 10th, expanding everything built on genuine emotional foundation, on home, on what you truly need rather than what you have been settling for. Jupiter in Cancer is the wind behind the stellium. It is why this is not a moment of confusion, but a moment of arrival. Saturn and Neptune are together in the first degrees of Aries. The old dream and the new structure have merged. What you imagined is now also what you are building. What you hoped for is now also what you are doing. The line between vision and action has dissolved in the most literal cosmic sense, and Mercury, Mars, and the North Node are standing together at the point of your destiny in Pisces, asking one question, not loudly, not urgently, with the particular patience of something that already knows the answer and is simply waiting for you to catch up. If not now, when? And if not you, who? The fog will lift on March 20th. The words will come back. But between now and then, inside the beautiful, unreliable depth of Mercury retrograde in Pisces, you already know. You have known for a while. Something in you knows exactly which direction your life is pulling toward, even if you cannot yet say it in a sentence that makes sense to someone else. Let it be known inside you. That is enough. That is more than enough. Before you go, I want to invite you to leave something in the comments. Not an analysis, not an explanation, just one sentence or even one word about what you know right now that you could not have said a month ago. Write it as though you are speaking only to yourself. Something you are ready to name, even if only here, even if only now. Leave it below. I am ready to receive what this stellium is showing me. Write that if nothing else comes, and mean it. The universe registers what is said out loud, even here, even now. Welcome to Vibration of Space. I am glad you are here for this one.